Hi, how's it going? Andy here. I'm going to be in charge of creating some of these menu widgets. Now, we agreed we'd sort of record it an hour at a time. So this is sort of the first hour of my progress. I'm just setting things up. It's a lot of documentation, but it's important. We're working in a team. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm just setting up the type hinting, which is useful for debugging and things. I'm just doing a little bit of research on how that works, right? Because we're not just going to use tuples, we're going to use any sort of list-like object, because ultimately this is probably going to be passed to OpenGL, so it'll need to be in a NumPy array form. The constructors for NumPy array, of course, just take any sort of list-like object, so a sequence. I've just changed these, given these variables leading underscores to indicate they are private variables and will only be accessed through getters and setters. And I'm also hinting at the return types here. And once we have one getter and setter, we can pretty much copy paste it for all the other properties. Just remembering to keep the documentation, the doc strings, up to date. Don't want to confuse anyone. Okay, so I run this just to check that it works without error, and it does not, because I need to fix up the type hinting. A sequence does not take the size of the sequence, it just takes the data type for the sequence. I've now created a folder to run some unit tests, and well, at this point I realize I probably need to look up how to set up Python modules packages a little better, because it's just not working for me. Now the other guys are behind me working at the moment. I won't tell them just yet. I'll just say, yeah, I've got it, I understand it, but for now I'm just going to make the unit tests in the same folder. I'll fix this up later. Okay, so this frame test is inheriting from unit test case, which means that it should be run when that file is run. Just import that, and we'll just do a simple sort of assert equals, except we're doing floating point numbers, so we need to be almost equal, get it within some tolerance. I run it right now, and it says okay, but it also says 0 tests ran, which is a bit of a problem. So I'm just looking up on Google what could be causing this issue. And just to test, I put it to a value which is obviously false, and it still doesn't complain. So I looked this up and I found that the test function has to start with test. It has to be test underscore something, and then it will run when the file is run. So now, I believe because we're working with NumPy arrays, they are reference copied. So I'm just checking that if I take the result which was returned and change it, it also changes the original value. Now, I'm not saying things should be this way, but it is important to understand that that's going on under the hood. And now I just basically do a whole lot of copy pasting for all the other properties. Now, there's no reason that I need to do this because they're all sort of being get and set with the same mechanisms, but hey, I'm being paid by the hour, so that's what I'll do. Now I'm just going to take that frame and modify it to make a button. To do this, we just sort of add a bunch of other properties, text color, foreground color, and highlight color. Very exciting. Now, I did see an error here. It shouldn't be text, it should be new text. I do actually fix this up, not on video, later. Okay, this is the new function here, kind of, I want to be able to test for a given position. Is that position inside the button? We can do this as one sort of big long AND statement. That's perfectly fine, except it runs off the edge of the screen. So I'm just shortening the variable names to make it a little more concise. That's all right. Now I've got all of that. I'll do the same sort of trick with the unit tests. And a lot of this kind of can stay the same. I just want to prioritize those early functions, the text and the inside function. Now I believe that Python strings are immutable, so we shouldn't have the same issue of getting reference copies that we did with the NumPy arrays, but I am just going to set that up just in case. Okay, so when we get the text and then change the text, it doesn't change the original text. That's great. Now I'm going to test the inside function by making a bunch of positions, which should be inside or outside. And this pretty much all works. So that's my first hour of work.